Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, November 10th. It is week 10 of the 2024 NFL season. And today is episode 37. Make sure to please like and subscribe. Another week, lots of news. Trade deadline has come and gone. Rosters are all set for the rest of the season. And should be a good show today. DiMari, how's it going, man?
Well, it's Sunday, so I had a friend of mine who likes Jacksonville text me this morning, and he's like, "Oh, yay, Sunday!" That's how I feel. It's Sunday. We got some good games on today, and unfortunately, we got Dallas at 4 o'clock. But
Yeah.
great Sunday night game tonight. I'm just looking forward to that. But it's just another week. I wake up and I wish I wasn't a Cowboys fan. That's about all I can say about about the start of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a rough go here for the Dallas. And I guess that's where we can kind of jump into it. We'll get into the trade deadline. We'll break down all the trade deadline moves and deals and all that good stuff. But obviously a lot of news this week out of Dallas, out of Jerry's world. Where did you want to start? I guess I'll give the floor here to you. Where do you want to start? Because two topics here on Dallas, the whole Jonathan Mingo trade, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And in Dak Prescott, of course, dealing with the hamstring injury, we find out here that he is done for the year. Reports that he needs to undergo surgery, but then there was a report this morning that he doesn't want to have surgery. So I guess it'll be interesting to see how that all ends up playing out here over the coming days and weeks, whether or not he gets surgery or not. But a lot of news out of Dallas and none of it very good. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, just where things stand? I guess we'll start with the Dak injury because that's probably the quicker and most recent thing, and then we'll get to the Mingo trade.
I mean, the season was over after week 5. The season is just definitely confirmed over now. The thing with Dak, I know people like saying, well, people inside the organization saying like he wants to come back, he wants to try to give it another run. Dak, there's no point. You're sitting at 2 wins. Washington is running away with the division. Philly is right behind him. You're losing to Philly today, so that puts you another game behind. You're like 13th in the NFC. Like, there's no way everyone from 12 to 7 just loses out and you guys win out and you sneak into that 7 seed. I think it's best you just wrap up the season and look forward to the next season. There's literally nothing to play for. You gave it all you can give. I know, like, you didn't have a great year, and that's what kind of sucks. Like, he went out on a bad year. If it was, MVP like numbers and everything was great and he was looking good, then it's like, okay, doesn't suck as much. But the fact that the huge contract, he hasn't played as well. We have so many injuries, and we're 2 wins. I don't the last it's been 3 years since we've had more than 5 losses, and now we're already sitting at more than 5. So it kind of sucks, but it's just time to prep for the draft. It's nothing to keep playing for. So hopefully he just gets healthy. CD Lamb is hurt as well. Like, don't rush those guys back. Don't go out there and risk your star players for pride and maybe hopefully sneak out with 5 or 6 wins. It's just not even worth it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It makes sense to just shut him down, even if it's not as maybe severe or maybe not as severe as Dak thinks. Even if he thinks he can come back, it's not worth it. I mean, if they were 5-3 right now, 6-2, you can understand. But where they're sitting, third place in the division, the only team behind them is the basement dwellers right now. And that's the New York Giants, who at the time of this recording are somehow losing 10-0 to the Carolina Panthers. So down 2 scores to Bryce Young, Dave Canales, and the David Tepper-led Carolina Panthers. But not to get completely off track, yeah, their season's been nothing short of just, I mean, would you call it, yeah, a disaster, I guess, right? I mean,
It's a
it's
disaster.
yeah.
It
Um, and like you said, now Dak heads into an off season, which is going to be or heads into this whole injury recovery and the whole off season eventually once the clock hits triple zeros on the regular season, getting a lot of criticism because he didn't play very well this year. When he left, the team was 3-5. They've lost 3 straight. They haven't been. Some of these losses have been like non-competitive, right? The Detroit game was non-competitive. You get blown out. The Saints game was non-competitive, although the Saints were kind of at that point. If you put any team into the Saints' schedule, week 1 and week 2, they probably would have gone blown out. And now they've fired their head coach. So I guess Where do you feel what's next now for Dallas just moving forward? And of course, once the offseason comes, we'll have a ton of time to talk about this, but you feel McCarthy's out at the end of the year. What's next? I mean, I don't think McCarthy gets a pass now just because Dak got hurt. If they were like 6-2 and Dak got hurt, maybe he does. But the fact that they're third place in the division, not playing well even with Dak, I mean, you've got to go into another offseason here where Jerry Jones is going to lead a coaching search, is going to basically do what he always does. I mean, is there any light at the end of the tunnel here, optimism wise?
Besides, like you said, getting rid of McCarthy, absolutely not. I think that's going to be step one is finding a new coach. I know a lot of situations, it's kind of give benefit of the doubt to the coach. We had injuries on both sides of the ball, and they kind of, give McCarthy some leniency and decide to let him play it into next season, maybe, 5 or 6 games to next season. But this is the team, again, 12-5 in 3 straight years, can't get over the hump, gets to the playoffs and gets embarrassed. And now this year, you run it back, and little benefit of doubt to McCarthy because front office didn't do anything. But you run it back with the same team, all goes wrong. There's injuries, but when guys are playing, you aren't looking competitive. I mean, everyone can be hurt. You still have to look some form of competitive. Like you are an NFL team. You are the Dallas Cowboys. That brings more weight, more pressure. So I think it's just you start with McCarthy, you get him out of there, fill in some roster needs and free agency that we failed to do last season, approach the draft correctly, and just hope they can get back to their normal selves for the 25-26 season.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the most realistic path forward for them. Got the Eagles today with Cooper Rush. Do we get a 2022? I know we talked about it off air. 2022 Cooper Rush insanity run. Does that start today? Imagine they win like 6-7 straight, get to like 9-5, 9-6, and
Dak comes back.
Dak comes back and they win it all. Who knows? We'll see.
One can dream, but
Jonathan Mingo to Dak, corner of the end zone for the win.
season's so over. I'm actually going to paper bag it. I'm thinking about it when I get a
I'm
chance to go
very
to the store.
close. The Jets season is on a week-to-week basis, so if this thing falls off this week, if they lose this week, lose next week, whatever, I think we'll both be paper bagging it on the show.
And change the name of the show, Paper Bag Boys, and,
Inside the paper
go
bags.
and go from there until next season.
Now, the Jonathan Mingo trade doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, this is a guy that's played 24 games in his career, was a second-round pick last year out of Ole Miss. 55 catches for 539 yards in his career, has yet to find the end zone. I mean, this year's not any better. 12 receptions, 121 yards, no touchdowns. And I get it. Carolina, it's very tough spot for a receiver to have success there because the last year you had to deal with a terrible rookie season from Bryce Young. This year you had to deal with a bad Bryce Young benching Andy Dalton, now back to Bryce Young, and overall just a dysfunctional organization. But there is also part of you that wonders, like, how you kind of are so deep on the Panthers depth chart in a way. Like, he wasn't getting many opportunities. I mean, there's a stretch of games here where he wasn't even hauling in any catches, was barely getting targeted. I mean, he's only been targeted 26 times this year in 9 games played. And over the last really 4 weeks, he's gotten targeted 5 times over the last 4 games, including no targets in their 40-7 loss against Washington. So he's been a non-factor. And you have Jerry Jones go out there and trade a 4th-round pick for him, saying he's all in. It doesn't even feel like a panic move. It doesn't make any sense. It's to me, I would have just, at this point in the season, knowing what you know on Dak, and I know this deal was made before Dak, but people inside the building, you could tell probably the severity of Dak's injury at that point. They were going to put Dak on IR at any point. Even if they just put Dak on IR and it wasn't a season-ending injury, the season was officially over right then and there because he'd be done for 4 weeks. You're probably going to go realistically with the defense not playing as well as it was 2 years ago. Cooper Rush, realistically, at best, 1-3 with him, maybe? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, the season was over at that point anyway. To trade it's not the 4th-round pick, it's a day 3 pick, but a 4th-round pick is a pretty solid return for a trade deadline move, and you're getting a guy that's not really any good, you know?
And I mean, I started to look at trades so much different. Like when not trades, draft picks so much different. We looked at like a fourth rounder, and you're just like, okay, well, is this a guy that's even gonna make the roster, or is this a guy he's probably gonna be a special teamer? What impact will he have, on the 53-man roster? I mean, look at Bucky Irvin. I think that's the best example. I believe was a fourth round pick. Look at
Yeah.
Bucky Irvin. I know Braylon was, I think, third round, but just showing those later picks are important. Look at Braylon Allen, what he brings for you guys. I
Yeah.
just don't get it. I
He was
don't
there.
get
He was
it.
fourth round too.
It was fourth round. All right, so
Yeah.
even better. Like, look what he brings. So fourth round picks are very valuable, and we trust as a Dallas fan, as I can tell you, draft where you're drafted does not matter. We got a lot of first round busts, but we got a lot of fifth or sixth rounders that are golden for us. So giving up a fourth round pick, I don't get it. I try to give the benefit of the doubt because you're like, all right, this is a guy only in his second year, and a change of scenery can go a long way. You get into a new system with a new team. Maybe you bring like a new energy with you from Carolina to Dallas, and you step into something where they think you could possibly be. And for a guy that was drafted in the second round, I mean, they seen some upside. They thought he can come in and be a game changer. So Dallas is hoping, okay, maybe we can jail him into that. But at the same time, and we've talked about this before, is you kind of can't go out on a limb for guys on what you think they can be because it only gets you so far. It's what they are. You said it perfectly. Carolina roster where Xavier Leggett's a rookie that's getting, has more production than you. There's I think Jake Coker,
Yeah.
undrafted free agent, getting more production than you. Deontay Johnson was there. Adam Thielen was there. Adam Thielen was hurt, but you still couldn't even get on the field. So you gave up a fourth round pick for a guy that
Yeah.
doesn't offer much, doesn't bring much. And the worst part about it is when you look at guys like Deontay Johnson, like Devontae Adams, that was going for fifth round picks, and you're just like, Jerry, you could have went out and got a seasoned vet that is guaranteed to bring a different aspect to this offense and open that offense up. But no, instead you try to plan for the long game, and you go give a fourth round pick for a guy who hasn't been good since he got in the league. So I don't think it's a panic. Like, I'm right there with you. I don't think it's a panic move, but it more feels like, all right, can you guys just shut up and just,
Yeah.
kind of deal with what's going on move. And that is why we won't win anything with Jerry Jones
Yeah.
in the front office.
Yeah, you make a good point with that last thing. Like all this entire season, and everybody's criticized the Cowboys, rightfully so, for not going after Derrick Henry, not going after another receiver, and it feels like that's kind of his like, shut up. Oh, look, I made a move. 10 weeks into the season, 10 weeks way too late, and it's a guy that barely played. I mean, Thielen's been on IR. He's only played 3 games, like you said. Thielen's been on IR. That should open up a door for a guy like Jonathan Mingo. And it didn't even open up a door. If anything, his production's gotten less and less as each week's gone by. So it doesn't make any sense. And I was just thinking of some Cowboys because you talked about, Cowboys finding guys sometimes in the fourth round. It wasn't, I believe Jake Ferguson, wasn't he a fourth round?
He was
I know he was a
he was late.
mid-round pick. Yeah.
Yep.
So another guy that they found, like, fourth round, first to fourth round picks, you get to like fifth, sixth, and seventh, and that's really kind of lucky. Like if you hit on a fifth round, sixth round, heck, you hit on a seventh round pick, you're real lucky. I mean, the Niners hit on a seventh round quarterback. They hit on Mr. Irrelevant. So, I mean, you got to be real lucky. But fourth round picks, a lot of good pieces are found there. Day two, there's a lot of good pieces as we talked about, and of course in the first round. Now there's always busts. I'm not saying every fourth round pick is going to be good, and it is the Carolina Panthers. So, what goes through their mind during the draft process? That's a good question. What goes through their mind during the offseason? Although I did like the Xavier Leggett pickup,
That
and
was
what was that?
they had a good draft. I like
They did.
Jonathan Brooks. I like Jatavion Sanders. I
Yeah,
like Xavier Leggett. Like, they had a very
they did.
solid draft with some pieces I think could make them two games better. It's still Carolina
Yeah,
Panthers at the end of the day. Like, it's not
yeah.
much movement, but
And to be fair, everybody in America had Bryce Young being the consensus #1 overall pick. So as much as you want to kill them, oh, Bryce Young's a bust. CJ Stroud #2 is, one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL right now, rookie of the year last year, all this stuff. Like, I mean, nobody. If the Panthers would have gotten destroyed in the moment if they took C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young, but
100%.
it happens. It's sometimes just the way things roll. And I also just think, and I don't, man, we'll move on here, but if C.J. Stroud was a Panther, he would not be what
No,
he is now,
no.
and that's part of
I,
just the Panthers' incompetency.
I think they're a little better, but I mean,
Yeah,
roles were flipped. If roles were flipped, Bryce Young can go to Houston and win 7 games. I don't
yeah,
think they're as good as they are. But Stroud comes over to Carolina. I mean, maybe what 5 wins? Like it's not much
yeah,
to work with. So he's really working with a lot of nothing over there that doesn't
yeah.
work
I
in his
mean,
favor.
yeah. You just look at the talent around Stroud and the pieces around. I mean, Bryce Young. I mean, last year Stroud only had what Thielen. He would have had Bryce Young had what Thielen. Um, I mean, I'm probably blanking on
Honestly,
everybody else. That
That's
was all
honestly
it
all I
was. I
can
mean,
remember. Like,
yeah, that's
you
all it
still
was,
had
pretty
Hubbard
much.
and Miles Sanders, but
Yeah,
Chuba Hubbard wasn't playing as well.
They had DJ Chark.
Oh,
That
okay.
was a blast from the past. That's crazy. You look at their receiving core last year. Thielen had 1,000 yards. The next closest was DJ Chark, who had 525. They only had one guy get over 500, like 50 yards. That's crazy. So, and then you look at what Bryce or CJ Stroud had. Tank Dell until he got hurt. He had Nico Collins, had Dalton Schultz. Now he's got Mixon. Now he's got, well, he had Diggs. He's got Collins coming back. Still got Dell. Still got Dalton Schultz. So they built around, and he's got a competent coach. The Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young's already been through technically 3 coaches because he had interim Frank Wright and Dave Canales. So Jonathan Mingo, by the way, third leading receiver last year on the Carolina Panthers.
With like 200 yards, probably. That's bad.
418 actually.
Okay, I was just being a little
Oh my,
snarky there, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't
He had
get it.
85 targets and only 43 catches.
Now it's like, is that a Bryce Young problem? Is that a him problem? Are these drop balls? Are
Yeah, I
these
don't know. I'd
in the
have to do more
dirt?
research. That's 42. That's just a little bit over 50% reception rate or whatever you want to call it. Completion percentage when targeted. But it's probably more of a Bryce Young. We'll see. I'm sure you could look it up and find Jonathan Mingo's drops, but um, either way, not great. So we'll see what happens. I mean, is he? I mean, I know he's under contract still, but do you think he's just a 1 year rental, half-year rental? I don't know. It's like, what's
I
even the
think it's gonna
future
be.
here for Mingo?
I think it's gonna be a 2 year. Let's say a year and a half. I think they're going to see
And
what he
maybe they
can do
do
for the
find
rest of
something
this
in him.
year. Yeah, it's possible, but
Yeah,
then again, it's like you're reaching for gold. Like this isn't a guy
yeah,
who came in the league and completely just took over the league. But also, he was drafted second round for a reason. But I don't know. Maybe they find something, and I think they're going to use this year and then all of next year to figure out what they got. But hopefully, this does not kind of steer them away from drafting a receiver in the draft. We absolutely still need a wide receiver. Cooks is old, last year in his contract, injured. We just need another guy. And hopefully we do find another guy in the draft and Mingo gels into something special. Now we have a nice, 3-headed monster, kind of how we had with CD, Cooper, and Gallup. But one can dream, but that's not looking like the case right now.
yeah. And you talk about receiver in the draft. So right now, Dallas stands at 11th. If they really tank and the wheels fall off, I mean, you're not going to get Shadur, but you go after Travis Hunter if you're that high.
That's tough. Depending on where we're sitting at, if the option is Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty, it
Yeah, it's
depends.
tough. Yeah.
This
Travis Hunter's gonna be
probably,
tough. You're gonna have to be a top. You might have to be the first pick because
yeah, we're,
if like the Patriots get the first pick, they're taking Hunter because they're gonna they don't need a quarterback. Obviously, it all
but
depends on how the top 3 shakes out.
at the same time, we do have Micah Parsons, which it would
Yeah,
not surprise me for Dallas to trade him especially for New England, who just say if it is New England, who just lost Judon, so you're getting a better version of Judon, way younger. To
Mm-hmm.
trade Parsons to New England for some picks, get Travis Hunter, but I don't know. I don't trust
Yeah,
them with moves when it comes
yeah,
to free agents or drafting. So no one else, we might
yeah,
take like a D tackle out of Michigan, the first pick.
yeah. I mean, I mean, I know McMillan from Arizona is a solid receiver. Isaiah Bond from Texas is had a pretty good year. He's up there. I mean,
Luther Burden, of course.
yeah. The kid from Ohio State, Amike Ibuka, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
I don't like them.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with the.
You
Recently
can't.
though, the Ohio State wide receivers are hitting. Garrett
Yeah,
Olave and Jason.
it's Ohio. Like it seems like Ohio State and LSU are the two places you go grab a
Yeah,
receiver and it's success. But I don't like Ibuka. Just I don't know if it's him or it's Will Howard. I'm just not. I'm not a big
yeah,
fan on it. I want to take him with like a day one pick. I see a lot of people saying he gets a day one pick. I personally don't
yeah,
see it. But then again, it is also going off his like 2021 campaign, I believe. Like, give it up. That was 3 years ago.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. Definitely, we'll have a lot of time for the draft talk for all 32 NFL teams. So moving on here, couple trade deadline discussions here. Steelers were very active. Commanders go out and pick up a kind of the big fish, if you will, and Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. So been a kind of a crazy week here for the Saints, firing Dennis Allen, which was well. And I'll tell you what, with the Saints, whoever takes over the Saints coaching is going to be a disaster because they're going to have so much work to do. They've been over the salary cap for like 5 years now, and you're going to have a quarterback that's not very good on a big contract. You're going to have, I mean, there's not much talent anywhere on that team other than Olave and Kamara. There's no talent, and it's they're going to need to completely blow that thing up and completely restart. But we'll see how that all happens. If maybe they're doing that now because they're not very good. I guess we'll start. We're a couple big moves. I guess we'll go. I'm gonna go Steelers. Bring in Preston Smith. Bring in Mike Williams. Mike Williams, of course, was the big one, given just that I'm a Jets fan. So, um, didn't work out here with the Jets. The two incidents in Minnesota, game on the line. Rodgers throws him a pass, threw it kind of at his ankles, but obviously not on the same page there. And then the whole red line incident on that Monday night game against the Bills, where he slipped and fell, and Rodgers threw the pick because of it. Went into his press conference after the game and basically told everybody in the world that Mike Williams ran the wrong route and he didn't know what he was doing. So clearly, him and Rodgers are not on the same page. And then after he says that, when like 10 hours later they trade the next morning, Tuesday morning, they trade for Devontae Adams, the writing was on the wall. Where there's smoke, there's fire. We all knew Mike Williams was going to get dealt. The only thing that I was surprised about with Mike Williams was the timing of it. I would have traded him if you were going to trade him. You trade him right after like the Buffalo or Minnesota game, right after you get Devontae Adams. But then now they wait, and now they can actually use Mike Williams. Like Alan Lazard's on IR, and now you trade away Mike Williams. So you were already top heavy as it is with Garrett and Devontae at the top. But now you're looking at the rest of that receiving core, and it's Malachi Corley, Xavier Gibson, Irv Charles, Jason Brownlee, Brandon Smith. Half the viewers probably don't even know what I'm talking about. I mean, I mean, if I wasn't a Jet fan, I probably wouldn't know who you're talking about either. But so it's interesting, and they've got Brees, of course, who's heavily involved in the receiving game. But it's a nice pickup for Pittsburgh. Nice compliment to what they've got going over there with George Pickens and geez, his name always escapes me. Is it
Calvin Austin.
Yeah, Calvin Austin. Yeah, I knew it was Austin. I was Calvin Austin. Pat Freiermuth, of course. Good run game. Russ is cooking, trying.
He's cooking.
And then they brought in Preston Smith as well to add to a defense that was already loaded, which feels like a very Steelers thing to do. Just continue to stack up defensively. So thoughts on the Steelers moves?
I like it. I like it. You see how good Baltimore is looking. I know Cincinnati's record doesn't really imply how good they are, but you see how good Cincinnati is.
Yeah.
The address defense is one thing. I mean, I don't know if Preston Smith is still that same guy in Green Bay that we're getting 2 years ago, but
Yeah.
sometimes the name carries a lot of weight. So him on the other side of TJ Watt, either that's going to free up some more for him, or TJ Watt is going to have even more of a field day because more guys to pay attention to. But it's good. We know that again, you said we know how good the defense is, but I really like the move for the offense because Russ is. It seemed like he got like not really thrown into the fire, but what I mean in that sense of like, hey, you're not playing. We're just gonna throw you in there, and we need you to instantly be good. And he answered the call. He's done
Yeah.
that. George Pickens has been very good. Calvin Austin out of nowhere has just been like a very solid slot receiver. But in this case, like I feel like I don't know ball because who is their other outside receiver outside of George Pickens? I can't name them. I'm not too sure. I would have thought they ran two receivers all
You're
game.
like George Pickens or not George Pickens, Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson, who hadn't really done too much this year, but Mike Williams is an upgrade. Mike Williams is
Yeah.
a vet. I like that. I think that opens up a lot more for Pickens. I think that opens up a lot more for Najee Harris, who's also having a pretty good year. And Russ will continue to cook. I mean, Russ has been pretty well with Austin and Pickens and running the ball effectively. Now they bring another big body receiver that can stretch the field alongside of Pickens. I like it for Pittsburgh, and I cannot believe we're saying this in November of 2024, but are the Pittsburgh Steelers the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs? Because with these latest additions and how they're playing, I mean,
Yeah,
they're good.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I think they're up there. I still think, if I'm being honest, and I know we were both low on them going into the year, and I was wrong about them by a pretty wide margin. I think if there was
Buffalo.
one team, it'd probably have to either Buffalo or Baltimore still. Um, but the thing is with Buffalo, the track record's just not there for beating them. Neither is it for
Yeah.
Baltimore, but especially with Buffalo. I mean, last year they should have won. McCole Harmon fumbled it and said, "Please take the game. I don't want to play anymore." And the Bills still couldn't take advantage of it. But yeah, I mean, look, you're not. I mean, you're definitely. It's a good point. I mean, their defense is phenomenal. Nobody can find an answer for TJ Watt. Nobody. Like week in and week out, he just dominates. And now, like you said, you had Preston Smith, who isn't the same player he was, 2-3 years ago, where he had a couple double-digit sack seasons in Green Bay. I think he had 12, maybe in 2019, 2020, around there. Had a really big year. He's not the same player, but he is a big name, and he's still a guy you got to look for. If you don't have your attention on him, he's going to make you pay, even where his older stage of the career, still a very, very solid pass rusher. And TJ Watt's a monster. Yeah, I mean, and what I like most about the Mike Williams trade from a Steelers perspective is Russell Wilson's known for those just basically punting the football in the air and letting his receivers go up and grab it. He's known for those those just throwing pies up. Mike Williams, one of my biggest regrets for the Jets is not throwing him more like one-on-one contested balls. Russell Wilson's going to do that. We saw that. We've already seen him do it with George Pickens. We saw him do it with against the Jets with George Pickens in his first start. Mike Williams is that 70-30, 80-20 guy. I think Russell Wilson, the way he can throw those jump balls, is going to fit really well. It's basically jackpot. It's one-on-one. It's you against the corner. Go up and get it. Mike Williams can go up and get it. So that's something else I really like about the trade. But they're low.
Now,
You get vintage Russ and a solid receiving core and an elite defense and a well-coached team. They've got all the makings. Forever now, it's just been give us above average quarterback play. And they're getting it right now with Russ.
and can we both say, I mean, we thought Russ was cooked. We thought Russ was
100%.
egg yolked, put in the flour, dropped in the grease, cooked. Russ has been good. He's taking care of the ball, and he's been efficient. And a lot of it does have to do with him running the ball well, but he's been good. Like he's not. I don't know. I don't know if Russ just secretly deep down just hated Sean Payton because this is not how Russ looked in Denver last year. He had some glimpses of it, but just this is not how Russ looked. Now he's looking kind of how he looked in Seattle, where you're just like, when he had the weapons over there, like this team can seriously make some noise. Like that is Russ right now. And I know myself, like I said coming to the season, like I'm not big on George Pickens. I'm not big on Najee Harris. I'm not big on Fryermuth. Like they don't have the weapons to actually make noise. And I don't know if it's a Russ thing or maybe I just don't know ball, but they have changed my mind. But a lot of that does have to do with Russ because he's making his guys around him look good. Once again, every week that goes by as well, your Mike Tomlin being the GOAT, it looks better each and every week. And Pittsburgh's the truth. I hate to say it, but they are the truth.
Maybe it was the thin air in Colorado. He just couldn't take it. Like
Probably.
just
You
couldn't take it.
know,
It got to his head, and he just
just
forgot to play quarterback.
just something about Deion Sanders being there at the time and a lot of what goes on in Colorado. Yeah, not a clear head. Maybe he was trying to like pave the way for Zach Wilson as well. Maybe he is such a vet and such a leader. He was just like, I'm just going to stink it up.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson gets another chance so you guys can see I'm as bad as I look. Like there's no worse than me.
Yeah.
Get Zach Wilson in here.
Or he watched our show and saw that we started the Zach Wilson campaign like halfway through last year.
I love it.
And he's like, you know what? I want to prove that these guys are correct, so I'm just going to stop trying, and we're going to hand the keys over to Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, and Jared Stidham. That's what we're going to do.
Russell Wilson, a guy of the people. We love it.
Did you see that video the other day of Zach, Bo Nix, and Stidham like answering questions? Did you see it on TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So long story, but Zach was answering these questions, and I was thinking to myself, he can answer these questions better than he can diagnose a defense. It's really just where we're at.
What were they asking? Was it one of those, like, I don't know if you've seen the video.
The Jets have caught onto the trend. It's like only girls' questions that they would know or whatever, and Zach was like answering them. I think it was like their 3 wives or whatever, Stidham's, Bo Nix, and Zach's. I only watched it. I don't have TikTok. I just saw it on Twitter. I only watched like the 5-second clip of like Zach answering the first question correct. And I'm like, so this guy, in the team meetings, he ain't answering anything correct about diagnosing a defense. Like, Zach, are they showing blitz here? No. What do you mean? They are. They're stacked. Like, he cannot diagnose a front in the NFL, cannot diagnose a secondary, but he can answer that question. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why he is the 3rd string quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
And I'm going to go find that video because now I'm curious. Because if this is the trend that I think you're talking about, my girlfriend just did it on me the other day. Start asking me questions about like girly things to see if I know the answer. So if it's that one, let's see how much Zach
knows. I mean, he is a MILF after all. So of course he knows.
That is true. He wasn't studying defenses at BYU.
No, the highlight of his Jet career.
He was occupied doing some other things, but that's that. Gotta love Zach.
Oh yeah, Zach attack. Anyway, the moving on from Zach Wilson and his nonsense that he brings. Marshawn Lattimore dealt to Washington. Like this move a lot. Commanders need some help in the secondary. I feel like it's been a while since the Commanders have had like a good secondary. They haven't been good in the secondary in years. Right? They bring in Landon Collins, remember, from the Giants. He was washed. Then they had was it Kendall
Fuller? Yeah,
Kendall Fuller,
I believe.
Yeah.
He wasn't good.
He wasn't any good. He was washed on the Commander, or maybe he wasn't. I think he was with the Commanders. Then he didn't go to the Chiefs for like a couple years, and he went back to Washington, and he was washed. I think he was originally drafted by, at the time, the Redskins. I think he was originally drafted by them, and then he went back to the Commanders after the Chiefs for a couple years, and he was completely cooked. Yeah. And now I don't even know if he's in the league.
I don't even know he's in the league. I really don't think he is.
Let's see. But either way, they've been bad for a while. Oh, no, he's actually on the Dolphins. Really?
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know that. But yeah, and then you have this year they've got Emmanuel Forbes, who they selected last year in the first round out of Mississippi State and did some good things last year. But this year, I mean, My God, he's just getting cooked. His career
Toast,
ended when the
please.
Jets. He was getting. Did you remember the Jets joint practice against the Commanders and he was getting cooked against Garrett
Yes.
Wilson? Oh my
Oh
God, he
my
put him into a
goodness.
blender all day in the rain too. He was getting cooked so badly. He at least, if it was a real game, he at least allowed like 7 catches for like 120 yards and like 3 touchdowns. He is Emmanuel Forbes is terrible. He
I
did some
remember
positive things last year, but my God, he has regressed so badly.
I remember last season when they played Philly and AJ Brown, oh my goodness. AJ Brown, I don't know what type, like that was really a Randy Moss type of game. AJ Brown just gave Emmanuel Forbes the absolute business, and I just loved it for a week. He was like
Yeah.
absolutely getting cooked
He
on
just
Twitter, and you know
toast.
it's bad. You know it's bad when a player has to go to Twitter just like, like I don't care about the outside noise. Yes, you do. You were out there getting cooked. You were
Cooked.
burnt
Yeah,
toast. AJ Brown made you his legal son, and that's kind of just been what it
yeah,
is. So they needed some help at corner.
they definitely did. So you bring in Marshawn Lattimore now, and I'll tell you what, that's just another example of how hard it is to play corner in the NFL.
Yeah,
And this is a guy, and that just also shows you too the risk you take of drafting a corner in the first round. Like they either hit and they're really good, or they're Emmanuel Forbes, and you do not want to be Emmanuel Forbes. So you bring in Marshawn Lattimore, who's a much needed addition to that corner room. Not the same player he once was. Part of it is the injuries. I'll even say this. I don't even know if you can really say he's not the same player once was because he hasn't been healthy the last 2 seasons, even this year as well. So you go back to when he was actually healthy, was 2021. He had a really good year, had 3 picks, 19 passes defended, which was a career high, had a huge season, and now has struggled with injury. So it's not like this is a guy that has been playing every game and is just not the same player. Um, Health is a concern. He is getting older. He is 28 years old now, been in the league since 2017. Um, but I really like this move for them. I mean, I don't, if he could stay healthy, he's easily the best corner this team's had in a very long time. And is a guy that can stand up against some of the league's best. You're in a division with AJ Brown, like you were just talking about. Heck, you're even in a division too with CeeDee Lamb. I know that the Cowboys aren't the same, won't be the same threat as they typically are once these two teams meet. I don't think they've met yet, right? Or have they? No.
not yet.
Yeah. The Commanders, their schedule is really strange. I don't think they've played the only team in the AF and NFC East I think they've played is the Giants, right? I don't think they've even played the
Yeah,
Eagles yet. No, they haven't. So they still got 2 games against AJ Brown, still got 2 games against the Cowboys. And really just the rest of the NFC too. Like, you know, you've got Falcons, you got Drake London. So they've got a couple games coming up here where they're gonna face some really good receivers and you're going to need somebody to step up. I really like this move. And the Commander's ceiling, I guess, like how high do you think it is? Is this kind of last year's Texans team where they'll win a round and then get bounced by maybe like a Detroit, like Texans did lose to just a much better team, much more experienced team in Baltimore? Is this year going to be Washington beat, an okay team in the wild card round and then get beat by a Detroit or somebody like that? How do you feel the ceiling is for this team? Are they better
all
than
right.
Houston last year?
Yes, I was about to say, hear
Yeah.
me out. They are better than Houston, and this is why I say so. Houston, they were kind of teetering on the edge of like, is Houston really good?
Yeah.
Is Houston getting not lucky, but like what is it with Houston? Man, remember, I mean, if Jonathan Taylor's in that ball game last year instead, I believe Tyler Goodson on fourth down, we don't even get Houston and this run of Houston going to the playoffs. Like we don't even get that. That
Mhm.
really took just incompetent football play at the end of the game for this whole Houston run to happen. We know how good Washington is.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubted them week after week, and they continue to prove me wrong. Like they are actually a very good football team. I think Jaden Daniels is better than what CJ Stroud was last year. I, I mean, I'm willing to take all the fire for it. It's going to sound crazy, but it's this consistency. It's just effectiveness, and he's just so much more fun to watch. this Washington team, I mean, honestly, I think they do beat somebody in the wild card round. If they win in the second round, I think it's going to come more based off of the coaching staff with Dan Quinn's experience and Cliff Kingsbury with all these different type of exotic offensive looks and designs. I think it's going to come more of the hands of the coaching staff than it is what the players do on the field. But I do think they are good enough to get to the second round. Will they get past it? I don't know. But again, this is a Washington team that I've been doubting all season, even during off season when people thought they would win the division.
Yeah.
I thought these hosts were clearly on things that you're probably not supposed to smoke in the workplace. And clearly I was wrong. They were right. Washington is good. I see a lot of upside for them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I totally agree. I was not on board with Washington at all this year. I thought I thought that they would be a lot more competitive than they've been, but you didn't see a ton of talent offensively. I mean, outside of Terry McLaurin, you had some questions. But now all of a sudden, Noah Brown has done some good things. The Hail Mary, of course, was big. You've obviously, got Brian Robinson Jr., even Eckler in times where he's had to step up, like last week, had a pretty productive week coming in for Brian Robinson Jr., of course, missed that game. They've been really good. And I thought it was going to kind of turn into like an old age home halfway through the year where you had Eckler, you had Zach Ertz, you have Bobby Wagner. I thought it was like they're really bringing in every old guy. They're bringing in I think we said it, right? What was it? The 2019 theme team, basically, like 2018. Yeah. That's what they were bringing in. And but it's worked out. And yeah, I will say this. However far they go, the Commanders and the Texans have now provided hope that I don't think fan bases have had in a while, from a perspective of they're proving that you can draft a quarterback, change a coach in the same year, and have this whole thing and have it be a 1-year flip. And for a while, that wasn't the case. Forever now, a couple instances this has happened where 1-year guy has stepped in and done really well. But in the past, it was much more separate from this. Now, this is back-to-back years now where we've seen a team draft a quarterback, hire a new coach, and Commanders, they're going to make the playoffs. It would take an epic collapse, and both make the playoffs. So for a team like, I don't know, any team out there that's looking for a quarterback, drafting a Cam Ward, drafting a Jalen Miller, who, by the way, put on a show last night. I really like Jalen Miller. I'll continue to say
it. Absolutely did.
Jalen Milroe is just soaring up the draft boards after last night, in my opinion. But we'll have a lot of time to talk about Jalen Milroe and Cam Ward. But whoever team takes those guys and maybe makes a coaching change, this also proves, too, rebuilds don't take forever. They just don't take forever anymore. Rebuilds should be more like retools. 1 to 2 years, and it flips. Maybe not as quick as Washington and Houston, but even you look at Detroit, right? Year 1 was really bad. That was kind of their really bad blow it up year under Dan Campbell. No talent. Then they got more talent in year 2, hit on some crucial draft picks, went 9-8. And in year 3, they took off, and now look at them. They're arguably the best team in the NFL. So, this is also a message to the Jets as well. Like, they've been rebuilding since 2010. It's not supposed to happen. Rebuilds are not supposed to take forever. They just aren't. You look at the 2022 draft class, and everybody talks about how the Jets were great in the 2022 draft class. You look at the top 5 teams, the Jets were at number 4. The other 4 teams have all made the playoffs since. The Jets are the only team in that top 5 that didn't. And I'm not trying to crush the Jets. I'm just saying, like, rebuilds are not supposed to take forever. They're supposed to be retools. That's really what they are now. And Washington and Houston's a prime example. I mean, heck, you even look at, maybe this isn't a great example, but like Chicago's, they're competitive. I don't think they have the right coach, but they're competitive. They're going to be a playoff team very soon. Maybe not this year, definitely possibly next year. They're competitive. Like, rebuilds, you can hit on the quarterback, you get the coach, and that's ultimately what matters. Is you need a quarterback and a coach. Those 2 things hit, you're going to have success.
Honestly, it's a little bit of the same too, but it's not because, Minnesota, not a rookie quarterback. O'Connell's obviously been there, but it's just going more into your point of you bring a coach and pair him with a quarterback
Yeah,
that is coachable and, kind of just trust the quarterback and see some things through, and you will find success.
yep,
Minnesota, we thought they're going to finish last in division. We thought 6 wins, and Minnesota's on an absolute heater. So, yeah, I mean, it's really more about finding the right guys than it is,
yeah.
you know, really going into depth in the draft and trying to find the perfect fit and trying to this and try to that. You just need to find two guys that see with each other eye to eye, and great things will happen.
Yeah, and I'll even say this too about Minnesota. You make a good point. This was first year post Cousins, and here they are already 6-2. And even to Minnesota's point as well, like Mike, when Mike Zimmer was fired after 2021,
Mhm.
because O'Connell, this is his third year. When he was fired, the year after, first year of O'Connell, they made the playoffs. And then last year, Cousins got hurt. They missed the playoffs. But now they're right back to the play. Now, well, they should make the playoffs, 6-2. Also similar to Washington, would take a pretty large collapse for them to miss it. And I would even make the case, who knows what J.J. McCarthy would have been, but Kevin O'Connell's such a good coach. I still think they would have been very competitive with J.J. McCarthy. If you're 6-2 with Sam Darnold, maybe they're 4-4 with McCarthy. Maybe they're a little worse if he has those rookie growing pains, but he's a very good coach. And I mean, he found a way to make Josh Dobbs look good for about 2 weeks.
I
Remember the
can't
Josh
forget
Dobbs
that.
run? What a weird time.
I was just about to say, I cannot forget that Linsanity run. Like,
That was that was like the best NFL insanity run, was the Josh Dobbs run.
and I don't even know where he's at. I don't even know who he's playing with right now.
It's a great question. Let's look. Kendall Fuller. It's the Kendall Fuller and the Josh Dobbs show. Josh Dobbs is with the San Francisco 49ers. I actually knew that. I just forgot about it.
Interesting.
So he did the
Um,
opposite of basically what Darnold did. Darnold went from San Fran to
they
Minnesota. Dobbs went from Minnesota to San Fran.
literally just flip.
Yep. The Josh Dobbs run was so legendary. It was
Oh
only like
my.
a 2-week run.
Yeah, it wasn't that long,
It
but it
wasn't
was
that
it
long.
was it
It
was
was
special.
legendary. Because then he fell on
Yeah.
his face in the Denver game. They
Yeah.
lost to Denver, and that was it. That was the Josh Dobbs run.
Oh,
2-week
football
run.
is
Really only
so
1 week, actually, because the Falcons game, he came in middle way through. So it was actually only like one legendary Josh Dobbs start.
well, just still like
But it
with that
feels like a
one
whole like
start.
2 months. Yeah.
It's football is so weird. You just have somebody that is just on an absolute heater, just
Yep.
insane 2, 3, 4 game stretch of their lives, and then game 5 is just like, you know what? I
Yeah.
don't feel like doing this anymore,
Yeah,
and
I'm just gonna stop.
you just forget about them.
Yep. Exactly. 100%. Joe Flacco run last year. I will always look back on the 2023 season with a whole lot of pain because my team was supposed to be good. I mean, heck, they were supposed to be good this year too. But Rodgers goes down. Out of all the backup quarterbacks last year that had success, and the Jets were stuck with Simeon, Boyle. Remember the Let Tim Boyle campaign for about 3
Let him
days
boil.
before the fail Mary on Black Friday.
That didn't last too long.
No, the Let Tim Boyle run, they never even started. The plane never even took off. How is he still in the league? How is Tim Boyle still in the NFL? And there's a couple things here. Like 2 things that I think are terrible right now in the NFL. Daniel Jones, who, by the way, at halftime losing 10-0 to the Panthers, is getting paid $45 million, and Tim Boyle is still employed.
The NFL is an interesting
No, he's
place.
actually a free agent. I'm sorry, he's not employed, but he was employed at the beginning of this season.
Still an interesting place. There's no way Tim Boyle should even took a snap for the Jets last year.
Yeah,
They
he
were
shouldn't even be
better.
in the NFL.
They were better off just calling me up for that Black Friday game.
Yeah.
I could have did the same thing he did
Mm-hmm.
and chose not to. So if they are listening, if you ever need a backup quarterback to go out there, throw a few picks, misread the defense, call my line. I will add my number and email at the bottom with my resume, let you know. And Daniel Jones, down 10-0 at half to the Panthers. This is also a weird team. This is a team that looks so competitive, and you're like, oh, they might be able to do something. Like Daniel Jones doesn't look too bad, and then you're in Germany. Sorry to all the Germany folks, by the way. You're down 10-0 to the Panthers in Germany. I just don't get it.
Yep, neither do I. Anyway, shall we get into our game picks?
Game picks.
Zadarius Smith, by the way, another big trade as well. Detroit gets a pass rusher, so feels like the rich gets richer.
That was huge.
All right. You want to go first? I've
Yeah,
been going first the last couple weeks. I say you go first. I want to see what you do, and then I'm gonna have to kind of go from there. Let's see what we got here.
It's the reverse psychology. I go first,
Yep.
and that way the pressure is on me. Well, kind of like last week, because I had all the 4 o'clock, you had all the 1 o'clock, and I was sweating all the 4 o'clock games.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
for both of us just to finish 1 and 2 again.
the usual, just absolutely cooking in the lab for days prior, just to 1 and 2 is about right. But I'm looking at an 0-3 week, but we're going just talking about Joe Flacco. We're going to stick with Joe Flacco. I'm going Colts +4 today. I don't like Buffalo's defense. I know the Colts defense isn't the best, but something inside me, something inside my 2-7 fantasy team spirit is saying go Joe Flacco today and the Colts +4 against Buffalo. Give me the Colts +4. I'm going to stay in the division. I'm going to go Houston +3.5. Nico, this is tough. Nico Collins is supposed to be coming back. If Nico Collins does play today, I like Houston +3.5. If Nico Collins does not play today, I am cooked, and that's already a loss. Houston +3.5. And talking about cooking, we're going to let Russ continue to cook. Give me Pittsburgh +2. I know we were just talking very highly on Washington. No Marshawn Lattimore today. I think Mike Williams will be making his debut today. And that Washington defense is toast. And I know we've talked about it like, hey, we can score 45, but we're going to give up 44. Pittsburgh has been good. They've been rolling. And I think today is the day where Jaden Daniels kind of gets brought back down to earth. I mean, Chicago was supposed to be the game. And then, the Hail Mary gods just gave him one. Pittsburgh +2 today. And we're looking at 0-3 maybe, but I'm confident right now at 11:10 a.m.
All right. Like those picks. I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna play kind of safe here. I don't think they'll win, but I'm gonna go Bucks +6.5 at home against San Francisco. They've been playing these games close. They lost by just 10 against Baltimore. They lost by 5 against Atlanta, and they lost by 6 last week against the Chiefs. They should have won last week. If Todd Bowles, who, by the way, that gave me Jets flashbacks, Todd Bowles being conservative. Never forget when the Jets would be losing 41-0 to the Patriots, and he'd send Nick Folk out for the field goal and like 5 minutes left just to put 3 up instead of going for it because the 3 points really matters. Todd Bowles being way too conservative. They should have won that game. You know how we feel about the Niners. Don't love them. I believe CMC is coming back in this game. He's coming back, which is big. But Tampa's been close in a lot of these games, so I'm gonna roll with the Bucks. Baker Mayfield, by the way, should be heavier consideration. I don't know if that makes sense for MVP.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If the Bucks were even just maybe 5-4 or 6-3 right now, he would be getting a lot more talk. But since they're 4-5 and losers of 3 straight, and let's talk about this too. He's doing all of this without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on IR the last couple of weeks. So Baker Mayfield deserves a ton of credit. He won't win the MVP because the Bucks aren't probably going to make. Maybe they'll make. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I don't know. We'll see. I think big teller we once Mike Evans comes back, but it's not the offense right now. It's the defense has been great, and the coaching last week not going for it was not smart. Baker Mayfield knew it too. Right when they lost the coin toss, he knew. Yeah, our defense.
Yeah, he did. He was like, well, guys.
He's like, it's over. Just might as well leave now.
I think he probably started thinking about what he was going to eat after the game because he knew it was over with. It was done.
Yep, he just wanted to hit the showers. So I'll go Bucks +6. Now, this is where things get a little interesting. I went Denver last week, plus I believe it was 9.5. and they lost by 31. So that clearly did not work out. But I am going to go Denver again. Just talked about the Bucks playing them close last week on the road. I know D-Hop and Mahomes are heating up. Denver, like you said, though, off air, always plays Kansas City tough. They beat Kansas City last year with a cooked Russell Wilson. So give me Bo Nix and this Broncos defense to have a bounce back week. They're too good to have this defense from the Broncos is too good to get blown out 2 weeks in a row. I think they'll bounce back. Give me the Broncos not to win, but of course cover the 7.5. I think that'll be like a 27-23 game, maybe. I don't know, 24-20 game, something like that. I think they might score garbage time late. I don't think they'll get blown out, but give me the Broncos, whatever it takes, cover the 7.5. And then this last one's tough. I've kind of bounced around a couple different games. I've thought about giving some consideration to Dallas plus 7.5. I've thought about taking Pittsburgh, which I would do. That's probably the smarter pick. The only thing is like, we've still got two wrong picks, but I can't and I need to make up ground. So if we both hit on Pittsburgh, it doesn't really make up any ground for me. So I would need to hope that the Bucks and Broncos do well, and then the Colts and Texans don't. But this is tough. There is a part of me that wants to go Dallas plus 7.5 because I do think they talk me as to why I should not pick Dallas plus 7.5. Just I believe Cooper Rush.
Okay.
They're not. They're gonna get cooked. They're gonna get diced up.
Talk you out of Dallas. Do you have an extra hour to spare that I can just let you know why Dallas is a terrible pick? To keep it short, our defense is cooked. Micah Parsons is back. Yeah. Saquon is going to have a day today. Our secondary is cooked. I don't know if Deron Bland is back. And Cooper Rush, I just don't see us moving the ball past the 50-yard, like getting the ball past the 50-yard line. Brandon Aubrey might as well go up to Jerry Sweet and just enjoy food and bev with Jerry Jones, but he won't be kicking field goals today. I mean,
not good.
I actually probably won't even do this I'll give you Dallas plus 30, and if it covers, you get the win.
Get a half a win.
If Dallas covers 30, I'll give you the win.
Dallas plus 30. That is crazy. Yeah, I'll go Steelers. I'll go Steelers plus 2 against the Commanders. I'll play it safe. This is not, it's kind of the safe pick because really, the best you can do this week is pick up 2 games on me. So I'll play it safe. And the best I could do is pick up 2 games, but I'll go Steelers plus 2. I did heavily consider the the Cowboys plus 7.5. If what is annoying me? If the Tennessee Titans were just half competent, I would pick them in half these weeks. They're getting some of these crazy spreads, and they can't cover a single one. You put Tennessee plus 30, they're not covering that spread.
If Tennessee was plus 30, I don't think I would go with them either, especially with Will Levis being back. And it's just their defense is so good, but also at the same time, I've watched Will Levis play football.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I can't. Too many times actually. I just
that
can't.
Meme of like
yeah.
That's what we all. That's what the NFL is doing to us, making us watch Giants Panthers at 9 a.m.
But actually, before we even bash Carolina, I'm glad Will Levis is back because his 4-run span of memes was just generational. You couldn't beat it. You absolutely couldn't beat it. But I'd rather watch Carolina, who's still up 10-0, by the way. I'd rather watch Carolina. And why was Machine Gun Kelly just doing a halftime performance in Germany for the Panthers?
Really?
Machine Gun Kelly was doing a halftime performance for the Giants.
I mean, the Germany people, they're just getting screwed right now.
If this is not a Simpsons episode of life, I don't know what is, because that was just so random. But I'd rather much watch these two in Germany every week at 9:30 than watch Will Levis drop back and throw a football.
try to drop back and throw a football.
Exactly. Emphasis on try.
Anyway, closing thoughts.
I'm sorry for all the folks out here saying off air that Dallas and Philly is everywhere besides Jersey and
Yeah, in Arizona
I'm
on the CBS channel. Anyway, I know the Chargers game's on Fox, so I'm sure that's probably
I'm
pretty national. I don't know. Probably pretty
I'm
national, I'd
just
assume.
sorry for the massacre you're going to experience. This probably should be rated R. Be careful letting your children watch this today. It's going to get ugly. Philly by 28. Other than that,
Luckily, I
enjoy
will
your
not have.
Sunday.
Luckily, I'll be watching the Jets. Hopefully, not a massacre.
I just need James Conner to go like
Oh
45
yeah,
point game, but the Jets
45.
still
Yeah,
win. Yeah, nothing. I mean, Jamar
nothing
Chase just
crazy.
had
Yeah, just
almost 60. It's
yeah, and they
possible.
did lose. God, that was crazy.
It's possible.
All right, so we will be back next week previewing Week 11. Hopefully the Jets at that point are still alive. Kind of crazy week to week league, really, for the Jets right now. If they lose this week, season's over. If they win, they sort of keep the season alive for another week with some help. So hopefully another good Sunday. Lots of 1 o'clock games, only 3, 4 o'clock. So enjoy a huge 1 o'clock slate. And we will talk to you guys next week. As always, thank you so much for watching.